kickstart your CAD workflow with 3D scanning, presented by Leica Geosystems and Cadalyst. Thank you all for taking the time to join us today. I'm Kurt Marino, blogger at Kung Fu Drafter and a Cadalyst contributing editor, and I'll be moderating today's event. During today's webcast, all attendees will be on mute. To submit a question for our speaker, type it into the question panel on the right side of your screen at any time during the presentation. We will have time set aside at the end for a few questions and answers. Without any further delay, let's get started. I'd like to introduce my guest from Leica Geosystems, Guy Cutting, who is here to give us some great insight on 3D laser scanning, how it works, and how it can help overcome many challenges in today's 3D CAD workflows. And we're going to have a special guest dropping in who is on our way, Mr. Mike Harvey, also from Leica Geosystems. So let's turn things over to Guy and get us started. How are you doing today, Guy?
Really good. Thanks, Kurt, for asking.
Well, let's get started. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at Leica Geosystems?
Well, I work with the Cyclone and CloudWorks suite of software. This is our enterprise software that drives the laser scanners and processes the data into deliverables. And I work here in Santa Ramon, California in the product management team.
Well, I got to tell you, I find that impressive because I can program my way out of an open doorway. So anybody who can, I think very highly of. So let's get started by tackling some of the basics. And these are going to be very basic for you, but I know that I'll find them enlightening. What is 3D laser scanning, and how does it relate to CAD workflow?
Well, that's a good question because the laser scanning has been around for longer than terrestrial laser scanning, and that's a better way to put it. These stationary terrestrial laser scanners collect millions of 3D coordinates many times per second, up to about a range of about 300 meters, forming what we call a point cloud. And that's really where it gets a little bit interesting with our software and others, that we're able to stitch the positions together, similar to where a tripod is moved around, to form one globally correct coordinated set of point clouds of a building, of a street. For a surveyor, this may be a bridge or an intersection. And what you have is, instead of a couple hundred points of an intersection, many, many millions. And so that's where it starts. And the Cyclone software, as well as CloudWorks software, is used to basically render or derive the line work and contours and tins that are more typically seen in the CAD deliverable map. Although I will have to say, more and more CAD companies are delivering the point cloud printed out on the map, on the sheet for cross-section. So it's really quite interesting.
Well, okay. Now, can you clarify exactly what you mean by terrestrial scanning?
Yeah, there's several types of scanners are available, and one of the most common uses that is pretty been around for a while is airborne laser scanning, where they fly over a large area and capture huge swaths of land with what's called a LiDAR laser. Our scanners have been LiDAR. The first laser scanner made by our company back in '96 was a terrestrial scanner that sits on the ground. It's stationary. It's used very similarly as a total station, and it's made to collect data from the ground.
Okay, so I'm going to embarrass myself by doing some math in public, but 1996, so you guys have been in the laser scanning business for roughly 17 years. It sounds like you were really first on the scene. Yeah, the big black box, as it was called, I dragged it around when it first came out, and it weighed 70 pounds. We have it in our museum over here, and it collected 100 points a second, and was the first terrestrial laser scanner out there. Wow. At 70 pounds, you probably had space for a nice big Leica Geosystems logo on the side of that.
It had 4 wheels, and it's such a big case, we used to pack our bags on top of it.
I love it. So, Guy, what exactly do you mean by a point cloud? Can you define that in layman terms for us? Sure.
So, for a surveyor, a single digitized point with an XYZ would be, in the CAD system, just that. It would be an X, Y, and a Z position relative to the total station setup. So think about that as exactly what a point cloud is, but you have millions and millions, sometimes even a billion points of measurement data from a single position. And you have so many that it turns into a cloud of data. And if you view it from the position of the scanner, this cloud of data actually looks like a photograph. It has so many positions or points so close together that it becomes a cloud of data that you can then render line work from.
Wow. And so Cyclone is able to take that mass of individual points that looks like a cloud, like a digital fog, and derive line work from that.
Yeah, that's where a little bit of the magic comes in, and where your point processing software is particularly important. Not only when you get the data, but how to put it together in the same coordinate system. And yes, you're right. How to get your line work, your DTM or TINs, or your block primitives like street furniture, or for the plant industry, pipes and valves and whatnot.
Wow. So who can benefit from this laser scanning technology, and what exactly are the benefits, specifically speaking?
The biggest industries currently, and these fluctuate a little bit, but by far the biggest right now is the civil survey industry, followed by oil and gas plants, buildings and facilities, and in the last couple of years a huge market that's had massive growth is the forensic and public safety sector. Each of these sectors uses the point cloud in a unique way. The surveyors, they want to get more accurate contours, they want better TINs, they want to give their customer more visual, more accurate information in a faster way. They want their surveyors out of the way of cars and traffic. They're concerned about safety. In the plant industry,
definitely.
Yeah, that's always a big one that our scanner really helps out a lot in. Yeah.
So what exactly, if you were to say that there was one most popular or most common use for your laser scanning technology, what would you say that application is?
Wow, that's a tough one. I would say it's a toss-up between your standard 2D and 3D planimetric plan deliverables in the civil survey industry and as-built of plants and buildings. I know you wanted the most. I'm giving you 3, so I'm going to go with civil survey.
Okay. Well, speaking of as-built, I know that a very large portion of American construction actually is in the renovation sector. So I imagine this kind of technology really excels there.
Yes. Yeah. When you're talking about the ability to capture what is and scan what will be somewhere else, combine the two, and doing proper estimations and lowering costs, it can really help out.
Hey, who doesn't love to lower costs?
Yeah.
Okay, but now I want to clarify. Now, even though this is a 3D technology and it produces a 3D point cloud, you're saying that one of its largest user sectors is 2D users for 2D plans.
Yeah. We're still live in many ways, especially in the construction and the government sector, what they want to see as ALTA or approval maps or government permits, or what the construction guy on the ground needs is a map. He needs something, whether it's profiles, cross-sections, he needs something that he can put in his hands and create the building or whatever it is, or the retrofit. So in many ways, the biggest challenge still to this day for many vendors, and we feel we do this quite well, is reducing that 3D point cloud, which can seem like this nebulous, large, complicated object, and reduce it down to the simple lines and TINs that derive most common maps.
Okay, so let me ask you, as long as we're on the specifics of this and its application, is there a particular CAD software that we should be using in conjunction with scanning and point cloud processing?
Well, there's 2 major ones out there. There's our Cyclone software, which does do the processing of stitching these scans together, and it has many routines to help the user derive the 3D TIN and the break lines, the curves and edges and building corners. The other one that we use with our CloudWorks product is AutoCAD. And many users find a great utility of just importing the point cloud into CloudWorks. The product is CloudWorks, and it's a plug-in for AutoCAD. that allows the point cloud to be exposed in the AutoCAD environment. And once in there, then an AutoCAD drafter can make short work out of a point cloud to get his job done.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, it's my understanding that Mr. Mike Harvey, also from Leica Geosystems, is on the line. Mike, are you there?
I am here.
Welcome, Mike. It's glad that you could join Guy and us. And I don't know if you've been listening in here for the past couple of minutes, but Guy has definitely been giving us a crash course in a 5-minute education in all about laser scanning.
Yes, so, I've been listening. He's done a fantastic job.
So let me really quickly touch on the same question for you. What do you think is the greatest benefit of the Leica Geosystems laser scanning technology for the end user?
Well, having been an end user myself in the past, when I was a surveyor in Boston, the main thing is that you have this massive cloud of points, as Guy had mentioned, and typically what I always used to call it was basically you have frozen the scene in time. So this is almost a tagline that we like to use in the forensics market, but I used it way back when. And if you can use the same set of data multiple times. So for case in point, and there was a typical garage that in Boston that we scanned, and over the course of 2 years, I was able to make 5 different deliverables to 5 different customers off the same set of data. Nothing changed. So it's a huge benefit there, because one of the major costs, especially in surveying, is of course the field operations, because you have a lot of overhead with trucks and guys and those types of things. So if you can avoid that cost, then of course profit levels start to go up, and that makes the big boss real happy.
So Mike, if I'm hearing you correctly, it almost sounds as if the laser scanning process is capturing information that you don't even know that you have a use for at the moment at little to no additional cost.
That is a very, very unique possibility, yes. There's obviously the very thing that you're out there to capture, that's your immediate need. But yes, you are correct. There are many instances that when you come across certain uses, you're like, wow, that I can reuse the same set of data.
Okay, well, and every time you can reuse the same set of data, that's just, it's like you said, you're adding to the bottom line, so that's great.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I'd like to ask you both, and I'm going to start with Mike. Do you have any anecdotal evidence, any customer stories about clients, for Leica Geosystem clients who have adopted the laser scanning technology and had big wins?
Yes. So the first one that comes to mind is actually a customer that we have done. Our last webinar together was actually a gentleman from Beck Construction using laser scanning for the BIM market. So that they've adopted the CloudWorks for Revit product that we have, and those guys are doing some amazing things. Another company that comes to mind is also the Atkins Group out of Tampa, Florida. These guys, if there was a customer that I would say that got it, these guys got it right away, because they have taken this model where the guys that go out and collect the data are also knowledgeable enough to come into the office and process the data. So they have several groups that they rotate through, so that there is no single group that they're dependent on, as the surveying market is rather cyclical. So it goes, certain weeks you'll have nothing to do, and there's other weeks where you're just swamped. So that they can expand and contract as the market needs, with this group of people. So they certainly got that concept, and they have become extremely successful.
Well, it definitely sounds like that particular business has taken the technology and created a full cycle workflow that keeps their employees busy all the time through the ebb and flow. Okay. Yep. Well, Guy, I probably imagine that they've got you working deep in the bowels of Leica Geosystems, working that code and cranking out those numbers, but do you have any specific anecdotal evidence you'd like to share?
Well, we have a customer council that we use to advise us on our software, and we have several companies that use our laser scanning software, and one of the companies is Epic Scan up in Seattle, and Carlos Velasquez is the owner and president. And he's one of our, he's a veteran user. He's been around about 10 years, and he's really gone through the workflow chain of using the technology, fighting the fight in the early days, but enjoying in the recent years all the advances in the automation of our software. And he's been very successful in just creating very detailed orthophoto maps of heritage buildings using a combination of scanners and our piping algorithms to generate very accurate, quick as-built of plants, and it's made a lot of money in retrofitting up there. He's been with us and continues to give us a lot of great feedback to help make our software better than ever.
We know just in those two instances, it definitely sounds like you've got some clients that are taking this technology and really running with it. So, and then also, I noticed that you mentioned customer councils, and I personally love large technology corporations that actively listen and participate with their clients. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really helped out.
So let me ask you, in both of these instances, you definitely feel that there is a quantifiable cost and time savings. In other words, there is this is translating directly to a bottom line improvement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like that. They're so sure they answer together.
I wasn't sure whether Mike was going to go first. Yeah, Carlos over the years has seen his bottom line costs decrease as the products have been getting better, and every time, and you're right, the customer console, we get direct feedback. We recently released some automation tools that cut 10% off his CAD operator's processing time for the plant industry. That's direct, valuable, quantifiable feedback, and that we can know that we're doing the good job for the customer.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. And I have to say that
another instance is Leica Geosystems / Hexagon now does this huge conference, which used to be the HDF conference. There was a couple of years ago, I think it was the last year that it was in San Ramon, there was a company that just purchased, new guys off the block, just purchased their scanning system, came to the conference, and then they were able to network with all the people there. And they came up with kind of like this group of helpers, if you will. And then within, I think they told me it was within a month, they were already making money with their full system through this network. So the tools are out there to fly to the sky.
We know, having attended the Hexagon conference in its inaugural year, I was just fascinated by the culture and the networking and the technology that was available in one place at one time. And I thought it was really unique. And I have to really suggest that anybody listening who's interested enough in this information to attend a webinar should consider attending Hexagon in person. It really is a fantastic event. So now, Guy mentioned Mr. Carlos Alaska, which I got to tell you, I think is the coolest name ever. If I was going to be a superhero or in a movie, I would want my screen name to be Carlos Alaska. But you've mentioned that he's been with you through the years. And yeah, personally speaking, my observation is that laser scanning has really grown in popularity. There used to be a very ooh and ah technology of it, almost as if it was the Star Wars lightsaber, but it really has grown in popularity. So are you seeing the same thing, or what is it that's pushing this growth?
Just better tools, better information, and as every market does, it emerges, and competitors push each other. We're very happy that we were one of the people that started the industry, but we're also see that there's a lot of interest, and a lot of other people want to make sure that it grows, and that has produced better scanners, better software, and a larger market. It's been great.
Mike, how do you feel about
it? The need is definitely growing, and I would definitely agree with what Guy just said, that there are other competitors out there that do drive the technology. And there's probably a scanner out there that could fit just about every business model. There's the do-everything scanners out down to the very niche scanners. And as the market grows, that I think that the switch of thinking, as Guy said early on, that many people still want the 2D map, which is very, very true. But the switch, I believe, is beginning, that people are starting to accept, I'm not going to say grasp, accept the 3D world. And, of course, laser scanning just screams 3D. Everything's 3D, especially when it comes to visualization. So as these other companies develop along with Leica Geosystems, that other markets tend to become available to us, such as that one of our largest growing markets right now is forensics. That was way back when, as Guy was talking about the big black box, and of course I used its predecessor after that, the little silver box. You go into forensics and that's just unheard of. That it would not be there. But now with the tools where they are today, there are other markets coming to bear. So whether it be forensics or even the entertainment business, there's a lot of laser scanning done there. So it's not just your traditional piping and plant and civil survey. There's a lot of other stuff out there too.
Well, I tell you what, the next time I watch CSI, I'll be looking for a P20. So
it's actually been on laser scanners have been on a couple of those CSI shows. It's been quite fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure that your households are very interesting. You're watching television and Dad jumps up, "That's a P20," and the kids are like, "Whatever, Dad."
Exactly.
So, speaking of hardware, what does a company need, or even an individual user, in terms of hardware and, of course, the accompanying software to support laser scanning?
Well, of course, a company will have to purchase, the scanner of their choice. Of course, I would love them to buy ours, but many times that's not the case. But they would need that, and then of course, most companies are using CAD systems, whether it be AutoCAD or MicroStation, one of those things. So we have tools that can plug into that. Typically, you want to take one of your relatively well-technical guys, because it is 3D, and if they love to play video games, they'll pick it up real quick. As long as you have, that type of that mentality of grasping the 3D, and along with learning the new instrument. As far as using the instrument, if you already know how to use a total station, then the learning curve is almost nothing, because you use the scanner just like you would a total station.
Okay, well, as long as they're not chasing each other around playing Call of Duty with the scanner, I'm sure that.
Well, yes.
Exactly.
Now, I'm sure that you would agree that Leica Geosystems products, hardware and software, have a unique relationship, since you are a manufacturer and developer of your own software, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, Guy, let me ask you on the topic of applications. What can a company do to adopt a certain solution to optimize for a certain application?
Well, and you make a good point, because many people don't focus, I think, well enough on what exactly can it support in their company, and that's where a good sales team really helps out. So let's say it's a civil survey firm. One of the very best applications would be your typical survey. More and more, this has been something that has been very well supported with our scanners, and so they need to look at how well the scanner fits into their particular workflow. If very few companies want to buy something to create a new market, they want it to fit into what they do. So when they're investigating solutions, they want the total basket of products to fit into their needs right away. And this is what I think we do exceptionally well with end-to-end solutions, from the scanner to the software, stitching it together and creating the deliverable. And again, the biggest markets: civil survey plant applications, building facilities, and forensics and public safety.
Well, Guy, I know that customers coming into the market new definitely find a benefit in a soup to nuts approach where they can do one-stop shopping. So I'm sure many of your clients find that useful. Well, and at this point, because I'm seeing a lot of comments in my chat window, What I'd like to do is go ahead and save our attendees from looking at my little photo on the screen and hand the controls over to you, Guy, because my understanding is that you have a nice little presentation that's really going to flesh this out for us.
Yeah, but I have several tools in our software that can help the user with their workflows.
Excellent. Let's take a look at that.
Okay, so I'm going to switch over here. This might not be so elegant, but I'm going to. There's our presenters. If anyone wants to know what we look like, speaking is Guy Cutting, and then Mike Harvey is also with me, and then Kurt too.
I have more hair in that picture than I do now.
Oh, looks nice. Looks nice.
I know.
I have more hair too. Okay. So what we really say is, and Mike, please feel free to comment as you see fit. The evolution of some of our workflows through some of the new technologies and tools available in our Cyclone products. What we have to show you, first of all, is a way to integrate GIS into your workflow. And one of the major tools we have for this is called geotags. And this is a way to mark, and typically for the plant industry, to help mark items inside of a plant scan to integrate the GIS information and the geographic information systems to tag valves, fire extinguishers, or anything relevant. This really helps the workflow of providing the owner-operator or the person that wants the deliverable. How can you help me as a service provider? Well, Mr. Owner-Operator, I can scan your plant, I can mark it, I can take information from your own GIS database, and I can propagate where all your valves are inside of this system. So leading up to that, because we got a lot of feedback from customer counsel and others that this is where they want to go. So we call it a geotag. A couple things that are good about this. First of all, it's automated. It comes when you're having plant asset management systems or BIM or roadway or GIS, whatever the system is, you can just write a little parser, and it's very simple when you document how to do it, and it then exposes this geotag information, this tagged information inside of our TrueView product. And Mike, how have you seen the reaction in the market to this?
The reaction has been very, very favorable. Even beyond the plant market, I've seen a lot of people in the civil survey market actually enjoy it as well as the forensics, just because it takes a very tedious task that you could do previously through a much longer workflow, and it's just really shortened it and really cranked up some of the profit levels.
Yeah, it's really been nice. So I'm going to go ahead and switch between applications here, and if you have to forgive me, I'm going to go ahead and just switch here and bring up something to show you here. Okay, just give it a second. What I'm going to show you is a laser scan, and this should be coming up here shortly. And this is a laser scan of a plant. And I just wanted to show you very quickly the geotag functionality and how it does operate. I'm going to go ahead and just turn around here. I'm rotating inside of a scan and of a point cloud. And you can see here these labels here are actual geotags that have been placed inside of a scan cloud. You can label a valve or a manhole or this electrical box. And once this is done, these labels here can contain relevant information straight from the database. As Mike said, these tools can be used to help you mark, label, and index a variety of things. Maybe it's a gun for forensics, a street furniture for survey, or in a plant industry, just assets such as a valve. Okay, and once these are labeled, and they can also contain a link to a website or images or anything that you wish, that can also be saved with this too. So I'm going to go ahead and just close that here, and then open up TrueView real quick. And I have to forgive me. Here we go. Okay, here we go. So what I'm going to do now is open up what we call TrueView. And what TrueView is a web browser is a plugin for your web browser that publishes the data into your you can view it in Internet Explorer. And what's going to happen now is I can see the same scene that was in our Cyclone software, but this is Internet Explorer in TrueView. And I can move around here, and now all these tags, these geotags, are now available for you to click on inside of the scan model space, inside of a TrueView. And here you can see these same valves that I had marked in the model space are available. And as Mike said, you can use these particular TrueViews to also link to other assets. So if I click on this button here, I just had this link to google.com. Okay, so I clicked on the link and up came Google, but that could have easily been linked to another system. Mike, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, the nice thing is that with the geotag is in the old workflow is that you would have to physically go into each TrueView view and place a hot link. So let's say that you could see the same asset from different scans or setups from the scanner. So with the geotag, what happens is the whole publishing of these hot links becomes automatic, and it automatically populates the same hot link in each scan that can see that individual tag, which is nice. So, in many instances, if you could see, whether it be a valve or, like you said, a gun, or even in survey, if it was some sort of property corner from different surveys, you would have a link there on every single scan that could see that physical thing, instead of having to do it one at a time, many times over.
Great. Thanks, Mike, for that. Yes, if you're interested in learning more, you could look up geotags, and we have on our Leica Geosystems website or on YouTube. And this again is some advertises that we have we have the new interface, the new TrueView that you can see here. We've redone the interface inside of Internet Explorer to be more user friendly. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about a feature that has really helped our users. It's actually one of the main things that was driven by the customer feedback and customer consoles, and has really been great, is scripting. What scripting is for the AutoCAD users that use list routines or macros, it basically automates common tasks. So we've entered this into Cyclone with a Python scripting engine, and you can go in and users can use Python. Iron Python is a very common scripting language, and they can write automated scripts. And so what we can do is you can script very common. It'll help your workflow when you're creating that staircase or the very complex object or pump that you need to make many times over. You can script these functions now. A handrail, it's a very common thing that you make, or light poles, or whatever it may be, a flagpole, or any number of street furniture. You can script the insertion and creation of. So we're really looking to our users to help us develop this. We already have this out there. We're even thinking of an app store to help our users help other users. So you could upload your scripts. Say you have a script that creates an entire rail per user spec. You just pick on the point cloud, and it inserts the rail or the staircase in there. This is really, really wide open. We've really opened up Cyclone. Currently, we support picking and placement of 3D primitives. This will, of course, increase in scope and size as time passes, and we're even thinking about having people, Mike, we're thinking about having people maybe turn in scripts for the user conference?
Yes, I am working on that.
Yeah. So we're,
Guy, let me interrupt you for a second. That's amazing. So this is actually a open-ended programming interface where users can come in and reduce their repetitive workload with automated scripting.
That's perfect.
That's fantastic. If I could ask you to roll back one slide, I was really impressed by your Internet Explorer interface, because anybody with a browser is going to have, or actually I guess it was the The one with the photorealistic image.
Oh, this one here? Let's see. Oh, this one here?
Right. That,
Yes.
now, that's anybody with a browser is going to be able to have access to this information, correct?
Yeah, Internet Explorer, and that's all you need. And it's free.
That's fantastic. Now, we do have a question coming in. First of all, it says that how many scans have to be taken to produce results similar to what we're looking at on the screen right now?
It's quite interesting. The scan that I showed you inside of Cyclone, which is the same image that you see in this picture, is a single scan.
That's a single scan. Wow.
Yeah,
So,
viewed from. Yeah.
Now the 3D scan looks photorealistic, or is this an overlay?
What happens is a 3D scan overlaid with color imagery from a camera, and this camera is internal to the scanner. Yeah.
Okay, so this is all. It all happens in one go.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm sorry. When I saw that, I had to interrupt you and ask you. So please do continue.
Yeah. Thank you. No, this is something we get a lot of feedback when they're looking at TrueView. They want to know, are they looking at a 3D scan or points? So it's we get that a lot. Okay, so anyway, so with scripting, we're looking at our users to help us, and it's kind of like that movie, The Natural, build it and they will come. We built it. So we're hoping that people will come and utilize it, and we've already had several users provide us with scripts, so we're excited about this. Okay, so I'm just going to skip along here. Here's an example of what a script is, but this goes way beyond what most users would want to know. So I just want you to know it's Iron Python, and that's how it works there. Okay, so the next one that we found, users, similar to scripting, find that they model things again and again and again. How many times are you going to model that pump or stairway? Now, unlike scripting, which helps you place it very accurately, right? The model library is made to say, hey, I've made that pump 100 times. I wish I could just save it and insert it whenever I want to. The model library does just that. It saves groups of items into a catalog that you can save, share with other people, upload to an app store, and make available. So in any piece of geometry or collection of objects you can create in our software can be saved out into a library. And so this can save rework, increase productivity, and it also provides a method for developing, supporting, and enforcing standards and consistency. Like, I want you to make the pump this way, and so it allows that to be enforced in a company-wide or just an office-wide platform there.
So not only can I reuse my scans, I can actually proactively share them for other people to use.
Modeled objects, yes.
Modeled objects.
Not the actual scan. The scan
Modeled
is
objects from that.
Yeah, the scan is kind of large, so in size. So the modeled objects. So we're talking like Guy said, a pipe or a hydrant or a light pole or a fence post or something like that that's standard that you can use a gazillion times. It's very similar to the concept of CAD. You draw one major thing once and then you copy it everywhere.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Now let me ask you, gentlemen, very quickly. We have another great question, and it says that this gentleman is a contractor, and he does renovations, and he's asking that, is it possible to take scans of the outside of a structure as well as the scans of the inside of a structure and marry them together into a 3D model?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's best practices, of course, that need to be followed. It's helpful to have a scanner that has a DAC and can be used as a total station with survey-grade accuracy. And our C10 and P20 offer that, but absolutely you can mirror the inside and outside in several ways.
Yeah, I've done it quite a few times.
So it's another example of Leica Geosystems hardware definitely having the features that Leica Geosystems software can make the best of.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Excellent. Well, Guy, please do continue. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No problem. It's great questions. These are really good questions from the audience. I left this model library slide up there just to see some of you can read it over and see what an example of this library. Here's a part that we would then save. I just wanted to very quickly show you here. I think it's always nice to show some of the features real time. So you have to forgive me as I switch back and forth here between PowerPoint and our Cyclone software. So this is
what the people came for.
So this is our Cyclone software. This is very common for what we can do out of laser scans. So this is a collection of primitives that are reduced into, the collection of primitives from a point cloud using our algorithms and then to produce a deliverable. And this can either be a 2 or 3D. So let's say in here I know there's a tank. You just saw me delete it, but I wanted to go ahead and insert it again. So you can pick an insert point and then go ahead and say insert model. And you can see here there's several types of models already available. You can see the imagery as I click past it. And these are just pieces of geometry, collections or groups of them that we've inserted as examples. There's a stairway, handrail. So any of these things can be saved, like a pump here, or right there is a pump. So for the tank example, I want to insert this tank. And if I pick that, it'll insert it right there, right? And then you can move it into place in any number of ways here. We can just move this guy into place over here and then do more detail move later. But the idea here is to be able to take a group of objects. Let's see. I want to save in here and save it to a library. Let's say I've just spent a lot of time modeling this thing. You can go ahead and just save that, right? Save this model piece here into a library and then insert it again and again and again. And you never have to remake that item. And after it's inserted, let me just go through here, you can then change the parameters of the connection points, or put another flange piece on the end of it, or adjust the location to make that new piece fit your existing environment. So this is another thing that Mike has very astutely thought would make a great addition to the user conference, because just as our 2D map competition has been very popular, we feel people are going to want to compete for the best model. Do you think so, Mike?
I would say so. There's definitely some good stuff out there.
Well, that sounds fantastic, and I bet some of our attendees are going to be really interested in that. Let me ask you, Mike, just a quick question. We've had several of our attendees ask some really great questions, but this one has come up a few times. Can you tell us some more about how Cyclone, which is obviously a very intuitive program, we just saw a great demonstration that was really brief but fantastic, how it compares to other laser scanning software? And in particular, they're asking about LFM, and maybe how to figure out which one is the right tool.
Well, LFM is primarily a plant product, so that it is that singular product, and it's also in many modules, as I'm sure that Guy will echo that as well. And
yes.
It also comes down to what the customers are going to be comfortable using. Now, I know there's plenty of customers out there that require end models to be delivered in an LFM format. So it is what it is. But at the end of the day, that Cyclone will do everything that LFM can, and also that through our partnership with Intergraph, we also have that entire avenue available, either going into their smart plant products or into the field type or isogens, all those type of the ICAST products as well. So there's a much broader spectrum of products or avenues that a customer could go. So it's and if I believe I'm correct, and the last time I checked pricing is, by the time you've got everything that Cyclone can do, that you're actually going to be a little more expensive with LFM.
Okay. Well, and I'm sure all of our attendees are very interested in price points. So, Guy, why don't you go ahead and continue with your demonstration? Sorry, again, sorry to keep interrupting you, but the questions are just flowing in.
That's always a good thing, huh? Okay, so this feature, this is near and dear to my heart because in the end, I'm a technical guy. It's something that I've wanted a lot, and I think it's going to help dramatically, in my mind, as much as the bigger, more sexier applications, and that would be the move command. And it's hard to move stuff around in 3D space. It just is. It's not like a 2D space where you just move it around in the XY.
It took me 12 pages to write the training manual on move command.
Yeah, we had a move command that could move anything anywhere, but no one could. I mean, not no one, but it was harder to use. So, anyway, instead of going through this, I'm going to go ahead and switch back and show you exactly how this move command works. All right, so believe it or not, again, in 3D space, I want this box over here. All right, I'm going to grab onto it. Okay, can you tell exactly where that is? So people would kind of put it there, and then they'd have to use a variety of ways to move that. And our CAD system is not unique. Many CAD systems work like this. So what we've discovered picking is very intuitive for people. So if you pick a source point and a source edge, a source point and a source edge, right? And then you apply a quick move, right? It'll just move it right into place. There's no accuracy problems. It's as accurate as your pick, and you can move it precisely and rotate it instantly. Or you can use something like if you don't want to even pick a source edge, you can just pick a location where you want it and say, I just want it right over there. You don't even have to do 2 picks. You just, boom, it just moves over there. So when you're dealing with moving CAD objects precisely and quickly, the move by reference and move commands are really, really spectacular. And let's say you're a CAD operator that wants a little more resolution on what he's doing. So if I picked, let's say, 3 points here, I could bring up another tool, right, that'll show you exactly the XYZ of the source, edge, and up, which is the XYZ of the source, this is the source, and the target, and this is the target of where it's going. It's going to show you exactly what's going on in terms of that. If I wanted to change the source edge, I could do so, right, like that. You can see how it's straightened out. I want to change the target edge, and I can move it down like that, and that straightens that out, right? And then you would just simply start moving the object. So we've gotten a tremendous amount of good feedback over a tool that we didn't think was going to get that much response. Mike, what have you seen?
I have seen people come up to me. Well, last week was the SPAR conference out in Denver, and I actually had a few people actually come up there and nearly kiss my feet about this tool. They were like, finally, thank you. So it's being well received.
Well, I got to tell you guys, that definitely looks like something that somebody could appreciate every day of the week when they're using this. And as fantastic as this is, we are going to have to cut the demo short because we want to get to some questions and answers, and we don't want Mike getting started in his 12 pages of move command. So let's go ahead, and at this point, Guy, I'm sorry to cut you short. I bet you could probably go all day on talking about Cyclone. But we've got some questions rolling in, and what I want to do is go ahead and jump straight into that with the time we have remaining. And I want to remind our listeners that while we're doing the Q&A section, you can continue to submit questions by typing the questions into your question panel on the right side of your screen. If we don't get to your question during this presentation, we're going to do our best to get back to you directly after the presentation. So please keep those great questions rolling in. And one of the questions that came in is something I never even would have thought to ask. Can a laser scanner penetrate a water surface? This gentleman wants to know if he can use a laser scanner to scan a stream bed with flowing water.
No.
No.
Unfortunately, no. I mean, that's a frontier that I know that's being worked on. It's definitely, something that I've gotten that question a gazillion times. I want to go scan, on top of a bridge and get the water up and get the riverbed underneath. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of laser and water just don't work together that well, and plus the refraction of the laser being through water, the location is going to be a little off. However, that if there's very shallow standing water, chances are that the laser will penetrate that and get that in shallow by, I mean, probably less than an inch, probably closer to a half an inch or less, and it'll penetrate that.
Okay.
But I'm lucky enough to have a pool in my backyard, and so I've actually scanned the pool, and the walls of the pool go off at a crazy angle just because of the refraction of the light through the water.
Well, we definitely don't want any crazy pool walls. So
No.
I've got a question here that I definitely want to get to before we run out of time, and that is a gentleman asking, if I want to tap into the benefits of scanning and point cloud data, am I locked into using only a specific 3D CAD solution, or will Leica Geosystems solution work with any 3D CAD system?
We work with a lot of them, so
Yeah, I was trying to think of the list. There's
yeah,
there's a lot.
The answer is no. So yes, Cyclone is our own standalone software. So that one you're going to need to learn certain portions of it, especially registration, and that's the act of merging multiple scans together to share in the field. Once you're there, now you have the workflow, if you will, is rather linear. Going from fields. So basically you collect the data and then you bring it into the office, you register it together, merging the scans together. At that very point, the workflow just explodes into a gazillion different directions. So you can go into Cyclone, or you can go into a lot of the CloudWorks tools. So you got, and CloudWorks are your plugins for your CAD platform. So we got one for AutoCAD, we got one for MicroStation, we got one for 3ds Max, we got one for Maya, we got one for Smart Plant Review, Smart Plant. We also have one for PDS, which is also MicroStation, Revit. So it's pretty much, we can get into all these platforms and use what you want. So you're going to use the workflows you're currently used to using, and then CloudWorks is going to help you put that point cloud in there and help you facilitate that.
Wow, that definitely sounds like a lot of choice. Guy, this question is specifically for you. And that question is that earlier you discussed the 2D deliverables, and this particular attendee would like to know how or why a point cloud is preferable to gathering conventional survey data for mapping.
Yeah, that's got a long answer to it, but I guess the short answer would be safety, completeness, to minimize revisits to the site because you basically blasted the site with many millions of points, more accurate contours, better visualization, and a happier customer.
Wow, that's a pretty good list. Mike, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, because that's actually what I used to do for a living.
I thought I saw you on the side of the road surveying.
Exactly. In the 2D deliverable, one of the things that we did, so one of the tools that we haven't talked about, but one of the tools is called virtual surveying. So pretty much, the person that runs the rod is basically now virtually put into the office, and it's the mouse and the pointer. And one of the things that we always struggled with is that you have typically one of either the lowest or one of the lowest paid people in a company, which is typically the rod person, making choices out in the field of what to be located for creating a map. So if you went out there and laser scanned it, it's going to indiscriminately just blast the site with points, regardless of what brand scanner you get. Bring it into the office, and now you've put the power back into either the PLS or somebody that's knows exactly what they need from that to create their plan. So they can systematically take those data points out of the point cloud and always go back if they need more.
That really does put it in perspective when you discuss the fact that you have, and not for a disrespectful term, but the person at the bottom of the pole making these very important decisions. Right. That is a very realistic point of view. Okay, gentlemen, we've got 5 minutes left, and what I want to do is I want to touch on the last topic, which I'm sure you hear all the time and our attendees are very interested in. We've talked about Cyclone, which is a Leica Geosystems standalone product. We've talked about your versatility integrating with a number of other 3D CAD solutions. We've talked about the integration of your Leica Geosystem hardware and how those tools, while there are some others, but those tools specifically are built to work with your software. And we've talked about some great applications. But I think what my attendees would really like to know, and we're going to talk about this in the way we do infomercials, is how much does it cost? What is a new user going to be looking at in the terms of cost to get into 3D scanning?
It's a very large spectrum of the number. It is depending on where you are, what the application is, and what you're trying to accomplish. We have solutions, although as cheap as probably somewhere around $65,000 to $70,000 total package, so hardware, software, training, et cetera, all the way to probably somewhere around $170,000. So it depends on where you are, where you're at, what the how deep you want to basically jump into the pool, if you will, and those types of things. So it depends on what you want. So typically, all of our professionals will have that consultative meeting with you, and say, okay, what's the end game? Let's build your package. So it's not a one package fits all. Everybody gets something different.
So there's a lot of versatility in the way that somebody can start to get their feet wet and then eventually make their way to the end of the pool.
You bet.
Okay. Well, if we order right now, do we get the free set of steak knives?
I'll double the order.
All right. No steak knives. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. We are very much coming up on the end of our broadcast, and I want to thank you both for just this fantastic crash course in the benefits of 3D scanning to CAD workflows. I want to thank all of our attendees for coming, but it is about time to wrap it up. So for those of you who would like more information, please refer to Cadalyst.com/3D-scanning, where you're going to be able to find copies of these slides. You're going to find links, contact information, and within 24 hours, there will be a posting of this recorded webcast. So all of your great questions I got asked, you'll be able to listen to me read them out over and over and play them for your grandchildren. And we want you to keep an eye on that page for some more news and some more great web events like the one coming up on May 9th, where we're going to look more closely at the hardware that's involved with the 3D scanning and the use of Cyclone, which we looked at today. And again, I want to thank both of you for taking the time to discuss this with us and share some great Leica Geosystems products and some information. And really, this has been a pleasure. Guy, Mike, is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for
Appreciate
having us. Glad to be here. And again, if you guys can come on the 9th, unfortunately, one of the reasons why I was late, I was actually talking to one of the people that's going to be joining us. So for the 9th. So I got some pretty cool stuff coming.
See that? It is always in the preparation. Again, to our attendees, you see this address on your screen right now. That's going to be Cadalyst.com / I suppose, 3D-scanning. And go there for more information, postings of the PowerPoint presentation that you saw with lots of great information that Guy provided us. And if you're not like me, maybe you can even get some programming tips out of it. Guy, Mike, it's been a pleasure. As always, I love talking to the Leica Geosystems people. You measure things so immeasurably well. So thank you to everybody, and until May 9th, y'all take care.
Thank you.
See you later. Thanks, guys.